Put your hand on your desk right now, or the arm of your chair. Feel that surface? It is solid. It is consistent. It belongs to you. Now, I want you to imagine that tonight. The only thing you have to put your hand on is a cold aluminum steering wheel parked in the furthest corner of an industrial park lot, or the frame of a shared bunk inside a commercial lodging house. You are 72 years old. You spent 45 years logging honest hours, paying taxes, raising children, and contributing to the economic growth of this nation. You followed every single guideline written in the corporate handbook. Yet, as the sun goes down over the American landscape in May 2026, you find yourself checking your watch, waiting for the public library doors to close so you can quietly retreat to an improvised space of survival. We are living through an era where the concept of retirement has been systematically dismantled. Across the United States, millions of citizens in their 60s and 70s are punching time cards, stocking distribution shelves, and clearing tables. They're not doing this out of a desire to remain active. They're doing it because they have no choice. The baseline safety nets have evaporated beneath their feet, leaving them to face a high-speed real estate market and a cost-of-living storm that has completely decoupled from fixed retirement metrics. But here is the part that should stop you cold. This late-life vulnerability was engineered decades ago through a quiet series of structural policy adjustments that shifted the entire burden of financial risk away from corporate ledgers and directly onto the shoulders of the working class. Total household debt has crossed a historic $18.8 trillion, and financial algorithms now calculate that an ordinary worker may need over $3 million in liquid savings just to step away from the workforce at a normal age. Welcome to Homeless US. I am not a financial sales representative, and I am not a politician running a campaign. I am a witness to the structural displacement that our modern economic framework tries to conceal behind polished indicators and corporate growth metrics. Today, we are exposing how the quiet destruction of retirement has turned into the primary pipeline driving older Americans directly into housing insecurity. Stay with me for the next hour, because what we are about to uncover regarding pension liquidation, debt compounding systems, and the cognitive automation of the aging workforce will change the way you see the American contract forever. If you believe human dignity should be protected at the finish line, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's look through the lens at the reality of the vanishing safety net. Part 1. The Great Liability Shift. The technical erasure of the pension contract. To understand why so many aging Americans are entering housing instability in 2026, we have to look directly at the historical ledger of the employment contract. If you examine the economic landscape of the 1970s and early 1980s, the concept of long-term stability was anchored by three distinct pillars. The first was the defined benefit pension plan. This was a binding legal contract between an enterprise and a worker. If you dedicated 25 or 30 years of your physical and mental labor to the factory, the utility, or the school district, the organization was contractually obligated to pay you a fixed, predictable monthly income for the remainder of your life. It was not a projection or a speculative market bet. It was a baseline guarantee that insulated the worker from the volatility of Wall Street. The second pillar was Social Security, designed explicitly to function as a reliable federal income floor for older citizens. The third was the steady accumulation of home equity, which turned decades of mortgage payments into a tangible, debt-free asset that could shelter a family in their twilight years. Together, these elements created a legible roadmap for the working class. An ordinary postal clerk or heavy machinery operator could look 30 years into the future and see a clear path to dignity. Then came the Great Liability Shift. Throughout the 1980s, corporate leadership recognized that these defined benefit pensions represented a massive, long-term financial liability on their corporate balances. To maximize shareholder value and clear these obligations, corporations began a systematic phase-out of the traditional pension contract, replacing it with a quiet technical update buried inside a subsection of the tax code, the 401k plan. This transformation was packaged to the public as a liberation, a move that would give workers greater flexibility, portable accounts and personal control over their financial destinies. But in terms of economic physics, it was an unprecedented transfer of risk. The enterprise walked away from its long-term promises, shifting the entire burden of investment, management, and inflation directly onto the individual worker. If the market experienced a severe correction or a systemic crash the year before an employee planned to step down, the liquidation of their retirement security was entirely their problem to resolve. Most workers did not fully process the severity of this shift until decades later, when they sat down to run the numbers and discovered that their individual accounts were entirely inadequate to clear the rising cost of survival. Part 2. The three-front attrition: rents, fines, and stagnant allowances. Once the protection of the pension contract was erased, the working class entered an era of three-front attrition. Over the past generation, the cost of maintaining a basic middle-class existence has risen at a velocity that has completely outstripped regional wage growth. We routinely hear financial personal training programs instruct people to simply save 15% of their gross earnings for the future. But that advice fails to address the underlying structural mathematics of modern survival. 15% after what exactly? It is 15% after clearing a monthly rent or mortgage payment that, in a majority of modern American cities, consumes 40 to 50% of a net paycheck. It is 15% after paying for health insurance premiums that have more than doubled over the past 15 years, and after covering utility assessments that rise with every passing season. The ordinary earner is not failing to accumulate capital due to a lack of personal discipline. They are failing because the basic cost of keeping a roof overhead has expanded to absorb almost every dollar they produce. The second compressing front is the expansion of consumer debt. Total household debt stands at a record $18.8 trillion. While $13 trillion of that figure represents primary mortgages, the remaining balance, composed of high-interest auto loans, lingering student loans, and escalating credit card balances, is where the real destruction of retirement security occurs. Credit card balances alone have climbed past $1.3 trillion, with average interest rates hovering above 20% per year. Every single dollar directed towards servicing a 20% interest balance is a dollar that is actively pulled away from building a retirement buffer. The hidden price of this debt is the loss of compounding time. Money that should be growing over 30 years inside a diversified index fund is instead flowing straight into the balance sheets of financial institutions. The third front of attrition is the quiet renegotiation of the Social Security floor. This system relies on a delicate balance: the ratio of active taxpayers contributing to the fund versus the number of retirees drawing benefits. As the massive baby boomer generation has transitioned out of the workforce, that ratio has shifted into an unsustainable trajectory. Actuaries project that without immediate structural updates to the funding mechanism, the trust fund reserves could face depletion within the next decade, reducing benefit payouts to 75 or 80% of scheduled amounts. Rather than stabilizing the fund through revenue adjustments, the primary policy response has been to methodically advance the full retirement age to 67, with structural indicators suggesting further delays are on the horizon. Workers who have spent 40 years contributing to this program are being told at the finish line that they must work longer and expect less, shifting the entire weight of the system's shortfall directly onto those who have nothing left to give. Part 3. The psychology of futility, doom, spending, and algorithmic capture. When an economic framework fails its population structurally, it doesn't just damage bank accounts. It fundamentally alters human behavior. Behavioral economists have tracked a consistent psychological pattern. When a critical long-term goal moves so far out of reach that it feels mathematically unachievable, the human brain stops practicing long-term discipline. Instead, it enters a state of rational optimization for the present day, redirecting its resources toward immediate, accessible comforts. Among younger workers in 2026, this psychological shift manifests as a phenomenon known as doom spending. Consider the calculation of a 28-year-old earner tracking $55,000 a year in a high-cost metropolitan core. They are carrying $40,000 in student loan debt, facing an $1,800 monthly rent requirement, and being told by institutional planners that a secure retirement now demands a liquid balance of $3 million. The $3 million target is an abstraction. It is a figure so vast that no amount of coupon clipping or small sacrifices can bridge the gap on their wage scale. When that worker chooses to allocate their remaining monthly margin to a quality meal, an immediate travel experience, or a small luxury item, they are not practicing reckless financial behavior. They are making a rational assessment of an uncertain future. They have recognized that the traditional future has been priced out of their reach, turning the present into the only space where they can exercise agency. When the future feels like an untouchable abstraction, the present becomes the only space where a human being can exercise true agency. This psychological withdrawal is accelerated by the design of our digital information landscape. Modern short-form video algorithms are built to capture and monetize attention through comparative exposure. A worker finishes a draining shift and scrolls through a feed that presents luxury apartments, elite travel, and expensive vehicles not as exceptional anomalies, but as the standard baseline of a successful modern life. This continuous exposure creates a deep, unyielding sense of personal deficit, a quiet conviction that despite their full-time labor, their life is falling short of normalcy. They spend what little capital they have left to close that emotional gap, chasing an illusion of security that the algorithm has made feel urgent. The legible roadmap that allowed previous generations to see exactly where their sacrifices would lead has been completely replaced by a dense fog of economic uncertainty, eroding the core motivation required to sustain 40 years of financial discipline. Part 4. The generational vice, the invisible privatization of elder care. There is an immense, unmeasured weight inside this crisis that never appears in federal data sets or personal finance reports. It is a burden carried in silence behind the front doors of millions of American homes, splitting the financial and emotional capacity of our communities. This is the structural trap of the sandwich generation, the population of working adults currently caught between two intense financial dependencies simultaneously. In working-class communities and immigrant families, the expectation of intergenerational support is a foundational, unwritten contract. Parents sacrifice their health to secure an education for their children, and those children are culturally bound to provide shelter and care for those parents as they enter the fragility of old age. This arrangement functioned effectively in an economy with stable housing and predictable costs. But in 2026, this contract has collided with a hyperinflated real estate market, transforming a family obligation into a financial vice. The adult children, now in their 30s and 40s, are themselves navigating stagnant wages, record educational debts, and a rental market that consumes half of their earnings. Their own retirement contributions are hovering near zero, and then the emergency phone call arrives. Consider the reality of a dental hygienist earning $62,000 a year, carrying $28,000 in student debt, and paying $1,600 a month for a basic flat. She contributes the minimum 6% to her 401k just to clear her company's match. Her 63-year-old father, who spent 3 decades performing manual labor in construction, experiences a severe health event that curtails his working hours. He possesses no corporate pension, no accessible home equity, and less than $18,000 in liquid savings. The family agreement dictates that the daughter must step in to bridge the gap. Over a 24-month window, she redirects $15,000 away from her own savings and debt payments to maintain her father's shelter. This is not a story of personal failure or family dysfunction. It is a clinical demonstration of the invisible privatization of elder care. When our institutional frameworks fall short, The cost of sustaining our aging population is dumped directly onto the generation least financially established to hold it. A generation already struggling to clear its own entry-level debts is forced to serve as a private pension system for the generation above it, destabilizing two tiers of the population simultaneously. Part 5. The median illusion, longevity as a financial threat. To see the true scale of the retirement collapse across the United States in 2026, we have to look past the surface statistics reported in corporate financial media. The number most commonly cited to evaluate the readiness of the population is the average 401k account balance for citizens in their 60s, which typically lands between $250,000 and $350,000. On paper, that figure looks substantial. It suggests a baseline of preparedness. But as a matter of basic mathematics, this average is a complete illusion. Averages are pulled upward by extreme wealth concentration. When a tiny percentage of high-earning executives hold individual retirement balances valued in the tens of millions of dollars, those massive accounts pull the statistical average upward, masking the reality of the general population. The only metric that reflects the ground truth is the median balance, the exact midpoint where 50% of all accounts hold more and 50% hold less. For Americans approaching their 65-year horizon, that median account balance sits below $100,000. Run the clinical drawdown math on a median balance of $95,000. If an older adult applies the standard financial rule of drawing down a conservative 4% annually to ensure the account survives their lifespan, they receive exactly $3,800 a year. Even when you layer the average Social Security benefit on top of that $4,000, the total annual income falls directly below the federal poverty threshold for the majority of American municipalities. This isn't a speculative warning about a future deficit. This is the live financial condition of half of the households entering retirement age today. They are stepping out of the workforce with a pool of capital that cannot clear 3 years of market rent. This equation becomes uniquely dangerous when you factor in the modern expansion of human longevity. A citizen retiring at 65 in 2026 can reasonably expect to navigate another 20 to 25 years of life. This means that a $95,000 account must be stretched to cover 2 full decades of basic biological survival before a single major medical emergency enters the frame. Cruelly, these late life years are the most expensive period of a human being's biological cycle. The average senior over 65 spends roughly $7,000 annually entirely out of pocket on medical care, not cleared by basic insurance. If they develop a chronic condition or require long-term assisted living, the cost of a private nursing home room now passes $100,000 a year. The very medical advancements that have extended human life have also extended the window of maximum financial exposure. Living a long life has been transformed from a cultural blessing into a profound financial threat. This is why roommate matching services and rental platforms are tracking a 50% spike in middle-aged and senior adults searching for shared housing tenancies. They're downsizing, skipping prescriptions, and entering roommate arrangements at 70 years old because the math of their independence has completely collapsed. Part 6. Cognitive automation. The liquidation of the labor horizon. For decades, the professional and knowledge working class operated with a specific structural advantage that made retirement planning a predictable science. The expectation of an extended labor horizon. A college-educated worker navigating an office environment, a financial firm, or an administrative bureau could reasonably project their earning capacity 15 or 20 years into the future. This predictability allowed them to build accurate long-term savings plans, knowing exactly what they could accumulate during their peak earning years in their 50s and 60s. In 2026, the arrival of advanced generative intelligence and cognitive automation has systematically taken that predictability apart. Historically, technological displacement targeted manual or highly repetitive labor. machinery replaced assembly line personnel, and basic software automated manual bookkeeping. But the current wave of automation is moving directly into high-level analytical, cognitive, and white-collar tasks, the exact fields that knowledge workers believe were their permanent shield against structural displacement. Advanced intelligence systems are now executing complex contract analysis, predictive financial modeling, corporate data interpretation, and administrative communications at a fraction of the cost of a senior professional salary. For a 55-year-old knowledge worker counting on another decade of high-wage employment to finish funding their depleted retirement account, this shift is catastrophic. They are finding themselves permanently displaced from specialized roles, entering a labor market that can no longer guarantee their earning horizon. At the same time, the retirement capital they do possess is deeply vulnerable to market corrections if investor expectations around these automated technologies fail to deliver projected productivity margins. Our senior workforce is caught in a narrow and closing vice. Intense labor market displacement pressing from one side and exploding costs of basic survival on the other. The runway has been cut short exactly as they reach the final stage of the crossing. Part 7. Reclaiming Agency. Strategic Modeling Beyond the Illusion. When you lay out the structural architecture of this crisis, the phase-out of pensions, the debt traps, the social security deficits, and the automation of professional labor, the natural human response is complete paralysis. It is a feeling that any individual effort is entirely pointless against a system so vast. But you must remain deeply skeptical of financial media content that amplifies this hopelessness simply to monetize your anxiety. Content that builds a narrative of inevitable collapse and then directs you toward an expensive training course or a speculative, high-risk trading scheme is not providing analysis. It is exploiting your fear. The path to reclaiming agency is less dramatic, but it is anchored in the unyielding laws of mathematics. The most critical asset found on any balance sheet is time capital, a consistent, non-speculative monthly contribution to a diversified index fund, maintained across a long horizon, produces results that remain highly resilient against market shifts due to the physics of compound interest. If an individual starts contributing $150 a month at 25 within a tax-advantaged framework, the compound accumulation over 40 years builds a substantial buffer. Waiting until 45 to initiate that exact same contribution reduces the final outcome by an extreme margin, proving that the earliest dollars are the most valuable units of capital you possess. The absolute priority for any household navigating the 2026 economy must be the systematic liquidation of high-interest consumer debt. A credit card balance extracting 22% annually is an aggressive drain on your capital that no standard, diversified investment strategy can reliably out-earn. Eliminating that debt is not a moral issue. It is a clinical optimization of your balance sheet that immediately stops the transfer of your wealth to financial institutions. On the question of housing, the decision to purchase or rent must be decoupled from 20th century sentimentality. In high-density markets where home prices and mortgage interest rates strain the household budget past the safe 30% threshold, renting while aggressively investing the difference into liquid assets is a highly viable alternative strategy. But where homeownership can be achieved without overextending, building long-term equity remains an effective mechanism to stabilize your late-life shelter costs. Finally, regarding Social Security, individual planning should avoid both the extreme optimism that the benefit is a guaranteed foundation and the total pessimism that it will entirely cease to exist. The sensible strategic model treats the federal benefit as a minor baseline supplement, while constructing your primary savings with that structural uncertainty already integrated into the equation. You cannot control the macro decisions of corporate boards or federal trust funds, but optimizing the localized variables within your direct sphere of influence is the only mechanism available to ensure your survival. Outro: The Awakening of Homeless U.S. The retirement crisis across the United States in 2026 is no longer a distant warning for future generations. It is an active, structural emergency playing out in real time across millions of households late at night. The forces that have dismantled the traditional contract, the pension liquidation, the rising cost of domestic space, the high-interest debt traps, the social security ratio shifts, and the cognitive automation of the labor market are deeply structural components of a modern economy that has treated human life as an input to be optimized. Admitting this truth requires our political and corporate leadership to acknowledge that full-time employment no longer reliably guarantees long-term stability for a significant and growing share of the American workforce. Until our institutions move past short-term triage and begin executing deep, systemic reforms, investing in non-market, affordable housing production, restructuring our federal entitlement fund frameworks, and legalizing protected transitional infrastructures, the lines of our aging workers will continue to lengthen on the concrete. I want to hear from you. This investigation only matters if it breaks through the background noise of the digital space and transforms into an active conversation within our shared community of awareness. After exploring how the great liability shift and the erosion of fixed income protection are driving older Americans toward the absolute brink of housing displacement in 2026, what do you think needs to change first? Should we legally mandate all corporate enterprises to reestablish guaranteed, defined benefit pension contracts for long-term staff? Or must we focus entirely on restructuring our federal tax codes to fully fund the Social Security Trust through high-earning corporate revenues? Have you witnessed the signs of this late-life retirement collapse within your own family or your own neighborhood? Please leave a comment below. I read every single one because your voice is what builds this channel, Homeless US, into a vital force for structural truth and human empathy. If today's documentary opened your eyes or validated a reality you have noticed on your family balance sheets, please do me one simple favor. Hit that like button right now. It is the simplest and most powerful way to help the YouTube algorithm share these human truths with more people who need to understand the structural causes of late-life poverty. If we choose to remain silent and look away, the crisis continues to expand out of sight, and the erosion deforms our future without challenge. Subscribe to Homeless US and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming investigations into the hidden realities of modern life. Don't let your awareness stop when this presentation concludes. Transform your empathy into consistent, practical action within your own neighborhood. Support frontline senior advocacy groups, mobile outreach networks, and legal aid societies in your home district who are working around the clock to protect the dignity and stability of our aging population. Volunteer your hours at a local community distribution center. Donate basic necessities like water, clean blankets, and hygiene kits, or advocate fiercely for affordable senior housing policies in your own local city planning assemblies. The next time you interact with an older worker clearing a table or passing a shift, look them in the eye and recognize their profound worth with a simple word of respect. We are the ultimate safety net for one another. We leave you tonight with a quiet prayer for every single soul navigating the high-stakes survival gauntlet of our world tonight. May you find a moment of absolute physical safety and deep mental rest in the hours ahead. May the weather be kind to your workspace, and may your home remain a secure haven from the winter cold and the summer heat. We pray for the parents balancing their budgets in the quiet kitchens tonight, for the young adults trying to support 2 generations simultaneously, and for the elders setting their alarms inside the quiet vehicles. May a hand reach out to you tomorrow that doesn't want to exploit your precarity or ignore your dignity, but wants to offer you a genuine key to a door that locks and stays locked. May fresh hope rise in your heart, and may you know that you are not a statistic, you are not invisible, and you are deeply valued by the human family. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with us for the entirety of this presentation. Your time, your focus, and your deep attention are the most valuable assets you can offer to this movement. We're not just filming the concrete, we are witnessing our neighbors. We are recording the human history that our modern systems want to conceal beneath corporate growth indicators and polished metrics. We are all just walking each other home, bound together by the same fragile threads of timing, health, and luck. Let us carry more empathy in our hearts and more courage in our daily actions starting tomorrow morning. We will see you in the next investigation from Homeless US. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other out there. Hallelujah.